engage ourselves in such a way that we can actually treat each other with complete respect and equality, where there's no longer the hierarchy. So this system was created very intentionally to be free of any hierarchy. So the 260 positions, everyone is born into one of these 260 squares on the matrix. I happen to be white solar wind, so I'm born as a 2. My code number for my wind is 2, and my tone is a 9 tone. So my koan goes that I communicate, and I am based in spirit, and I pulse intention. So then, why would I want to practice that system? Well, who cares? I'm white solar wind. What does that mean? Well, only by searching for my relatives, my loved ones, my children, will I begin to understand how the system works. Because the whole system is based on the idea of all our relations. And the word kin is always used so that the kin for today, or for the year will be kin. Kin means every day is a kin, and each of us is a kin. So this is time, and this is now. Each one of us moving through the kin of the day as a kin. So we all have a different relationship to every single day. So it's a way to begin to learn how to navigate constant change. Because as it turns out, everything is continuously changing day after day. So it takes, on this system, whatever point you came in, I was born May 15th, 1943. On this calendar, I was born in the 11th moon, spectral moon, day 14, and it was not the day white solar wind began for another 52 years. So we all have 52-year life cycles, a cycle in a pattern where when we get to be 52, then there's a convergence again of our day of birth with our galactic signature. Okay, so how many people have never heard of the calendar before they sat here today? Okay, I need to go back and do some really basic work, and that's so much fun. But first, maybe I can tell you how in the heck I got into this in the first place. Because when I met Jose, and when we started to work together, I realized that I had always lived this natural time. And I thought of a funny story as I was coming over that was my first example of the difference between, maybe we could say, between feminine energy and masculine energy. And only from the point of view, if we think of feminine compassion, masculine wisdom in the Tibetan system, or we think of feminine as being the great mother, and think of masculine, the father energy, how we bring those together. So that in the process of thinking of this story, I realized I was married. My first time, I told you I got married at 21, with a wonderful engineer, an industrial engineer. He worked with IBM, and a very precise mind. And I remember when my first child, Paul, was born, and I was at home, and I was nursing Paul. And my husband insisted that we had to make a chart every time the baby nursed, that we needed to write it down. And I remember at the time cracking up, but I was an accommodating wife. I knew he meant well. He was doing the best he could, and as you know, father sometimes feels kind of left out in the process. Mother has to go through, and at that time, they didn't even let the fathers into the birthing room. So thank heavens, women, we fought for the right and have gained the right to have access again to our natural birthright and birthing our babies naturally. But I thought that was a beautiful example of, I live by natural time, I had total confidence in my breast for producing milk, and here was my engineer husband thinking, well, we have to see what the schedule is. And so that is an example of the difference between a way of organizing time in structure and the other way being natural time. So we often use, you'll see this is the 13-moon natural time calendar. It's a little bit of an oxymoron to say natural time because, of course, we're all of nature, and we all, and especially here in the islands, you say, oh, we know that time, that's our time. But sometimes we have to use a tool to re-engage that which is really something we should have known all along, But when you realize that then the Gregorian calendar was actually combined with the mechanical watch, so that we then, at that time, we were beginning with the calendar, we identified it as this 1260 timing frequency, was the way we were measuring time with a calendar of 12 irregular months and a watch that mechanized time. Well, at the time of harmonic convergence, we helped to establish the idea of harmonic convergence, and there were meditations all around the planet. And what happened at that time, this was August 16th and 17th, way back in 1987, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Now it seems like it was eternities ago. But at that time, it was a global meditation, and I want everyone to contemplate it. It was before the internet, and it was all done by word of mouth and fax and telephone. And I still think about that today. So I feel like we are so blessed with the tools that we're getting now, where we have instant access to information. So in a way, time is already speeded up for us. Even though, to talk about natural time, in a way we're free to even be more in natural time because of how quickly we can access information when we need it. So I am now in my spiral. So I'm giving personal story, and then I keep weaving it back to the structure of this system. So the next part of the story is in the 2 years when we lived in Maui and we're bringing through these codes. We were living in the most exquisite place in Kula, where I had a washer and dryer out in the backyard behind the house where I could see the mountain. And we were very aware that Kaua'i is pretty much a major military place as well as an astronomical center. And so we realized, there was a lot of energy that was coming through. And when you create a system, why we have systems of knowledge is just to help us to organize ourselves. And this system happens to appeal to people who like to get at the root of patterns. And so to find the root of the pattern of my own life has been a real joy through this system. So I wanted to tell the story. The next aspect, we were on the plane heading for Hawaii when we realized that when you write, I'm going to do a little chart here, just to entertain you here. I'm going to write the numbers here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm counting, see, this is how we learn in school. I'm getting a big kick out of myself. I'm hoping I'm on the right track now with my little chart. 17, 18, 19, okay. Now, this is something that led us to realize when we converted these numbers into the Mayan way of writing numbers, which is that a dot equals 1, and a bar, see this bar? That equals 5. So I'm going to take all these numbers and I'm going to convert them into their Mayan numbers. And then you're going to see what turns out to be the whole root of how the dream spell has evolved and how we're all members of an earth family. Okay? So bear with me for a minute, or unless you want to come do this for me, Deborah. No, keep going. Should I keep going? So the 0, and the Maya had a place position for 0, so then we have 5 is a bar. So guess what 10 is? Very good. Guess what 15 is? You are so good. Okay. So now we're going to get to the 1 dot for 1. Now how do you think the 6 is going to be written? Yes. And how about an 11? Yes. And how about a 16? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to write these numbers. We're going to have and 7, and then we're going to get to 12, and then we're going to get to 17. Okay, then we're going to get to the 3 dots. Have 3, 8, 13, and 18. And finally, we're going to have the 4 dots. And so, of course, the 9 is going to be that, and here comes the 14, and the final one, the 19. This is the highest dot-bar ratio that you have in the whole Mayan counting system, is 19. That is 3 bars and 4 dots. Once the Maya get to 19, they start a counting system where, by position, they move the dot up to 1, and that becomes a 20 position, and then back down here, so 21 is written like this. 22 is written like this, 20 position, 22. Then you get to the next one, you get to 400, then you get to 8,000, then it's exponential. So the Mayan system was a very amazing system of writing numbers, because instead of a linear, see how many different figures you have to write that? In the Mayan system, can everyone see this okay? It's streamlined. So what happened is these became the earth families. This is the no-dot family, the 1-dot family, the 2-dot family, 3-dot family, and the 4-dot family. The moon is the 9. So the code number for this moon is 9. So it's written like this. But the tone of this next year that's coming is 5, which is a bar. So you have to get a little bit familiar with a dot-bar way of reading numbers, and it's very different from our Arabic numbering system. So it's because you're actually visually seeing a spatial relationship of these dots and bars. So from here, we have both a code number in our galactic signature, and we have a tone. So all of this you'll see if you go on the computer and you look up your galactic signature. So now I want to just give you a context for then in this whole creation of this dream spell, which we call the Journey of Timeship Earth 2013. I'm sure by now all of you have seen all kinds of information out there about 2012. What's going to happen in 2012 and 2013? How many people have read at least an article on 2012? Okay, it's a little bit out there, but it's not completely. If you're following calendars, though, most people get really curious. And it's because the Mayan system had a closeout date of December 21st, 2012 that completes cycles within cycles within cycles. Because the next principle of the Maya is that this 260-day cycle has a base 26 in it, which means this next period of time that we're coming into, it's going to be, how can I do this? I guess should I turn the board over or I'm ready to erase? I hope it erases easily. Do you want to know? Should I turn the board around? It's going to erase. Okay, good. So this will be written, this is in the calendars, so you don't have to worry about it. I just wanted to give you the flavor of a code. It's called the code spell of that day that will code the year, the overtone moon. So the next thing I need to let you know is that this calendar system, this particular Dreamspell galactic calendar, has a starting date every year of July 26th on the